Hey guys, Damien here. So this is more likely going to be my last video on Mordechai Vanunu. I said that the last video, but I forgot. There's still some screenshots that I didn't share that don't tell the rest of this man's story. I also forgot to leave out some parts, such as that this guy was born Jewish, and I believe about a year or so before he ended up taking those secret photos, he was in Australia and became a Christian. He found Jesus, became a Christian, went back to Israel and exposed their nuclear war program. And I just want you guys to remember that, like, imagine being in this guy's position, where knowing that if you get caught, you could get in some serious shit, which he actually still ended up getting in trouble for. 18 years in prison, 11 in solitary confinement. He got paid $0. He did this to try to save humanity because he's a good person. And his story is being suppressed by our government. Guys, that does not happen normally in our lifetime. Okay, people who do what he did. I'm 46 years old. I've never heard a story like that ever in my lifetime. That is incredible. When you really think about it, it's incredible. And when you really think about it, that is super weird that no mainstream media covers it. And they won't be talking about it now. And any time when the Iraq war was happening, when Afghanistan was happening, nobody was ever talking about, well, what about Mordechai Vanunu who exposed Israel? What about Israel's nuclear weapons? No one ever said that stuff because no one knows about it. Courage is contagious. Tell this man's story because at 55 years old, he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, guys. Nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, but he asked to be dropped from the list because Shimon Peres, Israel's former president, received the award in 1994. Isn't that interesting, guys? 1994. Remember how 1994 we had the Proliferation Act? In the same year, Israel's president getting nominated for the Nobel Peace. Isn't that kind of a coincidence how that happens and our government just continues to give them financial aid? Israel had developed up to 200 nuclear weapons of a highly advanced design, making it the world's sixth largest nuclear power. I believe I read something, guys, a month or two ago that I think Israel is now the fourth largest nuclear power, but don't quote me on that for sure. But anyways, for his efforts, agents from the Mossad, Israel's intelligence services, kidnapped him in Rome and brought him to Israel to stand trial, a secret trial, and they convicted him of charges of espionage and treason, sentenced him to 18 years in prison, 11 and a half in solitary confinement. He never received any money for this act of conscience. He took it upon recognizing that Israel's nuclear program went well beyond its need for deterrent and was likely offensive in nature. A former strategic analysis at the RAND Corporation observed that Vanunu's revelations about Israel's nuclear program demonstrated that its scale and nature was clearly designed for threatening and, if necessary, launching the first of nuclear weapons against conventional forces. Imagine the balls it took to expose this shit, guys. Israel has long stated that it would not be the first to introduce nuclear weapons in the Middle East, which is rather disingenuous commitment given that the U.S. planes and warships have been bringing nuclear weapons into the region since the 1950s. The senior Bush administration sold at least 1,500 nuclear dual-use items to Israel, including to a report by the General Accounting Office, despite requirements under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty that the existing nuclear weapons, like the United States, not helping another country's nuclear weapons program, quote-unquote, in any way. And guys, I've mentioned in one of my very earlier videos how I'm not tied to any political party, and I know it may seem like I'm getting on Trump a lot lately. Well, Trump has been in office, but Democrats are going to get it too, and I'm about to, Clinton's going to be one of them. I'm going to be exposing all, guys, since 1948, every single president has said yes to giving Israel billions of American taxpayer money. That's not false. Okay, you can look that up. Fact check me that. Okay, that should be like, okay, Damien, that's interesting. Why is that? Keep on watching my videos. It will all make sense, but not in a good way. You're not going to like it, but you need to know about it. President Clinton wrote, Rightus Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in 1998, pledging that the United States would continue to protect Israel's nuclear program from international pressure. Way to go, Bill Clinton. Given the enormous cost of any nuclear program of such magnitude, it would have been very difficult for Israel to develop such large and advanced arsenal without tens of billions of dollars from us, American taxpayers. Whoever's watching this video, they're talking about our money, unrestricted American financial support, more than simply employing a double standard of threatening perceived enemies for developing nuclear weapons while tolerating development of such weapons by its allies. The United States has, in effect, subsidized nuclear proliferation in the Middle East. To justify the U.S. invasion of Iraq, President George W. Bush, Senator John Kerry, and others argued that Iraq had an ongoing nuclear weapons program in violation of the UN Security Council Resolution 687. In reality, the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency had determined in 1998 that the Iraq's nuclear program had been completely dismantled in IAEA inspections in the months immediately prior to the U.S. invasion, and exhaustive searches by U.S. forces subsequently have confirmed that assessment. What both Republican and Democratic leaders have failed to observe, however, is that Israel remains in violation of the UN Security Council Resolution 487, which calls on Israel to place its facilities at Dimona under IAEA trusteeship. Dimona is in the Negev Desert. That's exactly where Mordechai Vanunu was working at, guys. The woman who lured Vanunu was an American woman working for the Mossad. Here's a little bit of good news, guys. Mordechai Vanunu, he won the Robin Livelihood Award. It's an alternative to the Nobel Peace Prize for his courage and self-sacrifice in exposing Israel's clandestine nuclear weapons program to the world. Guys, some movement needs to be set so this guy can be able to leave Israel before he dies. Mordechai Vanunu. The next story is going to be a different story, all right? So that's the last one on Mordechai Vanunu. Please share his story, guys, because mainstream media is not going to share this story. It's up to you. Please have some courage. It's contagious. Don't be afraid to share this man's story. Try it out. See if anybody has anything to say about, like, why would you say such a thing, blah, 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 and see if they give you a different perspective that maybe you can give me on how this guy's not a hero. Please, do it for me.